I just got out of a 4-hour-long marriage-based green card interview. These interviews are getting really intense.
Is ICE actually detaining people at the U.S. airport even though they're a green card holder?
If you're a green card holder and CBP hands you a form to give up your green card at the airport, you know what you do? You never sign it.
My least favorite part about being an immigration attorney is the amount of schooling I have to do for people who are complete morons.
Wait a second. I thought freedom of speech was a thing in the United States.
These 2025 immigration laws have attorneys ready to sue. From legal nightmares to constitutional violations, we're breaking down the lawyer rants that'll make your head spin. This is the legal firestorm you can't ignore. Let's start with the first rant.
Immigration court update from Portland, Oregon. I just left immigration court with my client, and his final hearing, so his individual hearing, was scheduled out into the end of November 2029. You know something's not working when it takes literally over 4 years to get your day in court.
I have some breaking immigration news that I never imagined would be possible. European countries and Canada just issued a travel warning for the United States. Countries like Germany, Canada, Finland are warning their citizens against traveling to the U.S. They cite the risk of arbitrary detention. Experts estimate that tourism to the U.S. will tank by $22 billion. So my question to you is this. If Europe and Canada are warning their citizens against traveling to the U.S., do you really think this is the right time to risk traveling internationally if you have a green card or a visa in the U.S.? Let me know in the comments below.
Shout out to @Attorney Jaime. She just posted an immigration court update that's kind of insane. Her client's next court date is in November 2029. That's over 4 years just to get a hearing. At that point, the case will be old enough to start kindergarten. How is that even a system? Now, at Josh's Immigration comes in with a plot twist no one saw coming. Canada, Germany, and Finland have issued travel warnings for the United States. They're officially telling their people to avoid traveling here because of the risk of detention. Experts say U.S. tourism could take a $22 billion hit. If you've got a green card, now might not be the best time to risk international travel, because the land of the free is starting to sound more like terms and conditions may apply.
I just got out of a 4-hour-long marriage-based green card interview. These interviews are getting really intense. The officers are definitely digging super deep into these cases, whereas before, over the summer under Biden, they were waiving interviews. They weren't even doing them. But now these officers are digging deep. This started off with the husband and wife were both in the room together, and the officer asked some basic questions, like where do you live, where did you meet, when did you get married, etc. And then he separated them. So he had the husband stay, and he started just diving in deep. He would ask questions like, what did you do last weekend? What did you do on Saturday? What did you do on Sunday? What did you have for dinner? If your wife drinks alcohol and you're at a restaurant, what is she going to order? Where did you buy the rings? At one point he gave them a piece of paper and he said, okay, draw a square. And now I want you to draw your bedroom. Show me where your bed is, where your dresser is, where the closet is, what color are these pieces of furniture, etc. And then he swapped them. But he swaps them so that you don't have time to talk, right? So he'll lead her out, and then the other officer will he'll lead the husband out, and the other officer will bring the wife in, and then they start asking the exact same questions. And then they bring them both in together at the end. This is now like almost 4 hours later, and they compare the answers, and they say, well, you said you did this on Saturday, but your wife said this, and vice versa. Either way, these interviews are not as easy as they used to be. I always see people in the comments like, oh, my relationships are real, I don't care, they can come visit me, blah, blah. The thing is, you might not have the opportunity to prove that your relationship actually is real. So it's really important that you go to these interviews very well prepared. You really have to think and communicate with each other, like, what did we do last weekend? Make sure neither one of you is confused, because it could just be an honest mistake, but then that's gonna like plant the seed of doubt in the officer's mind. If you have an interview coming up and you'd like us to help you prep or give you some more ideas what the officer might ask, you can use the link in my bio. You can schedule a consultation. We would love to discuss your case with you.
Wait a second. I thought freedom of speech was a thing in the United States. Over the last week or two, F1 students have been waking up to messages from the Department of State notifying that their F1 visa has been effectively revoked in the United States, with a report for them to self-deport immediately and to thereafter, once home, report to the U.S. Embassy in their home country to actively have their F1 visas canceled. The State Department has claimed that they have already revoked at least 300 visas, although it seems that the number is much higher than that today, in connection largely with what they deem activities that are sympathizing with terrorists. What does that mean? So effectively, in many of these students' cases, they have participated in pro-Palestinian support activities, whether that means engaging in peaceful protests, whether it means, in one person's case, taking part in an article that was posted online supporting the rights of Palestinians, having social media activity posted to various accounts that show a problem with what is happening overseas right now between Israel and Palestine. This is obviously super chilling. Freedom of speech is a cornerstone of our democracy, and yet how is this able to happen? Enter prudential revocation. What is this? Well, this is this concept that by law, the Department of State can revoke the visa of somebody who is physically present in the United States, so long as they come into contact with derogatory information about what somebody's doing in the US. And in this situation, where the Department of State has been taking screenshots of social media activity for various F1 students, looking at different arrest reports, looking at various documents that they have come across to see that if in any way these individuals are sympathizers of Hamas, they no longer deserve to be in the United States. So what's the takeaway here, folks? This is a scary time. And what I recommend to all my clients right now, keep your opinions to yourself online. Obviously, we don't ever want to create the precedent in this country where we are telling people to stop using their voice that is guaranteed by our Constitution to be used. But right now, we need to think in practical terms. If you have strong opinions about anything that in any way could be deemed derogatory towards our government or towards our allies overseas and in support of any potential terrorist organization, keep your opinions to yourself now. Your future self will thank you. And in the meantime, let's try to have the court system work this process through the way it's supposed to be.
Shout out to @Chris the lawyer. He just sat through a 4-hour marriage green card interview. Officers aren't playing anymore. They're splitting couples up, asking what you had for dinner, and even making you draw your bedroom. One wrong answer, and they start doubting your entire relationship. Then Eberardi immigration law says the government's now revoking F1 student visas, not for crimes, but for social media posts supporting Palestine. They're calling it prudential revocation, and they're telling students to self-deport. So yeah, if you're applying for a green card or just here on a visa right now, the system's not just watching your paperwork, it's watching everything.
My least favorite part about being an immigration attorney is the amount of schooling I have to do for people who are complete morons and don't understand the nuances of immigration law. They think that immigration is just about the stuff you read on the news, the headlines they see on Instagram about the border and all this stuff, and it's just so mind-boggling. Oh my God. I work primarily in the employment-based immigration space, and I tell people, you know, my clients are doctors, they're researchers, they are technology innovators. What do you do? What do you do? I bet you your doctor is an immigrant. That Mexican restaurant you love to go to and order your freaking burrito from, that owner is probably an immigrant. It's unreal. And I bet you that this level of ignorance and hatred towards immigrant is gonna cause the United States to become an immigration beggar instead of an immigration chooser.
The US has revoked all South Sudanese visas effective immediately because of one person. The US claims that South Sudan refused to accept somebody who had been deported for being in the US illegally. As a result, all visa appointments are cancelled, no new visas will be issued, and all current South Sudanese people with US visas, those have been revoked. Nobody from South Sudan can enter the United States right now legally.
Shout out to @attorney Ingrid Perez. She's done being polite. She's an immigration attorney working with doctors, tech innovators, researchers, and still has to explain basic facts to people who think all immigration is just border drama on Instagram. Your favorite burrito spot? Yeah, probably owned by an immigrant. Your doctor? Same deal. She says if this ignorance keeps up, the US won't be choosing immigrants. It'll be begging for them. Then Larry Madowo hits us with this. The US just revoked all South Sudanese visas because South Sudan refused to take one deportee back. Every visa? Cancelled. Appointments? Gone. No entry, no exceptions. One person triggered a full shutdown.
If you're a green card holder and CBP hands you a form to give up your green card at the airport, you know what you do? You never sign it. Because if you do, you've given up your green card and you're out of here. I've heard stories about Customs and Border Patrol forcing people to sign a form I-407. It's the form to voluntarily give up your green card. They're doing it for people who've stayed out of the country for long periods of time, people who have not established residence in the United States, and even sometimes people who have conditional green cards and can't prove that they're in a bona fide marriage with their spouse. Guess what? They can't force you to do it. And also guess what? You don't have to talk. You have the right to see a judge, you have the right to remain silent, and you have the right to request to be paroled into the United States and not be held in detention. I'm Brad Bernstein, and I've seen people lose their rights over dumb stuff, but this is the dumbest. Know your rights.
Is ICE actually detaining people at the US airport even though they're a green card holder? Please, let's get into this right now because I really hate when information is spread incorrectly and I want you to understand everything responsibly. My name is Mamita Rahman and I'm an immigration attorney who's been practicing immigration law for the past 15 years. Here is really what's going on. CBP has always had the right to have people sign a piece of paper called the I-407 Record of Abandonment of Residency. I think that's the proper title, but what this is that if you are a green card holder who is returning to the United States and you're going through a port of entry and you have been out of the United States for at least 6 months, then basically your absence from the United States of 180 days plus basically allows CBP to question you further to determine whether or not you have abandoned your residency. Now, if you are a permanent resident of the United States, then having actual residency here in the US is a requirement, which is why if you leave for more than 180 days in one single trip, it basically triggers a rebuttable presumption that you have abandoned your residency. So henceforth, when people return from abroad, a lot of times, if they have been out of the country for more than 180 days, Customs and Border Patrol can definitely ask you questions about your residence, about whether you have any ties to the US. And many times, they will actually pressure you to sign this form called the Form I-407, Abandonment of Your Residency, which basically gets you to give up your green card without seeing a judge. So what should you do if you are a green card holder returning from abroad and you run into problems with CBP because either this or something else? Demand to see a judge. Demand to see a judge. Do not sign anything without a lawyer and exercise your right to remain silent if you do see that they are detaining you. Now, if you do sign that piece of paper, then it's going to be very hard to prove that you did not give up your residency. But if you go in front of a judge, then you at least have the right and the ability to prove that you did not give up your residency. And also you basically get to, you're going to be allowed into the United States as well. So let's all take a step back. I know that the times are very scary. It's easy to believe a lot of things, but it's also very easy to misinterpret the news. And I hate to say it, I see some of my fellow attorneys spreading things and causing panic as well. And one more thing that I want to mention is that if you are a green card holder who has any sort of criminal history, this can also be a problem. And can be such a problem to the extent that we advise our current clients, if they have any sort of criminal issue, to avoid travel or at least get the charge checked out before they travel. Because also, if you have been out of the country for more than 6 months, if you have certain criminal issues, CBP will use that against you and can use that against you. Also, they can use this against you even if you have been out of the country for less than 6 months. So if you do have any sort of criminal history, even if it's been dismissed, you do want to get this checked out and get it verified by an attorney who understands the intersection of law between criminal law and immigration law, which we call crimmigration in attorney parlance. This is something that needs to get checked out as well, okay? Again, my name is Mamita Rahman. I'm an immigration attorney who's been practicing immigration law for 15 years.
Shout out to @Brad Bernstein Law. If you're a green card holder and CBP hands you a form to give up your status, do not sign it. It's called Form I-407. Once you sign it, you've basically volunteered to give up your green card. No judge, no fight. Brad says they're using this on people who've stayed abroad too long or can't prove their marriage is real. Then immigration lawyer Mumita clears it up. If you've been out of the US for over 180 days, CBP can question your residency and pressure you to sign that same form. But you don't have to. Ask to see a judge, stay silent, and if you've ever had criminal charges, don't travel without legal advice. Think these laws are fair or a disaster? Debate below. Smash like, subscribe, and tap that bell for more legal explosions. Goodbye. See you on the next one.